What's going on, guys? Welcome back to an installment of the beginner's guide. This time we're taking Jolteon and going over some of its stats, some of its its move pool, typical sets, and kind of what I see as a falling H chart of drafting Jolteon to see if any of those kind of alter your opinion on whether he's going to fit your playstyle or if you wish to give him a go, or there's something I don't know. So we'll kind of jump into it. We'll kind of jump onto the stats page. But firstly, I mean, Jolteon is in the RU tier, so typically he'll be a very kind of dependent on if you're drafting point style or if you're drafting tier style. He'll cost a relatively low amount of points compared to your higher tier Pokemon. And it also fits in at the third tier down. So, yeah. But it takes his name as a fast, electric type, which in competitive Pokemon is usually extremely important because a lot of the game is brought around getting momentum. So being able to have a Pokemon on your side of the field which will beat out the opposite Pokemon 9 times out of 10 and be able to either make a read or deal a lot of damage to an incoming Pokemon. That's ideally the position that you always want to be in, and Jolteon brings that to you. So in my opinion, Jolteon is actually an extremely good Pokemon. The only downside, as you can see with the stats, is it is extremely frail. Naturally, most electric types are actually extremely frail, except for probably Zapdos. With its 100 stats, it can take a lot more hits than, say, Jolteon can. But it hits like a truck, in my opinion. I mean, 110 to some is very average, but I think 110 is relatively good. And base 130 speed, it outspeeds almost everything that is drafted, which is really nice. In essence, I mean, I think even its base stats, I mean, it resists, say, a Brave Bird from Talonflame, so it outspeeds Talonflame naturally, but although it resists Brave Bird, I think it's still an OHKO because of its base 60 defense. I may be wrong, you may want to invest enough defense to take one Brave Bird, but yeah, that's what I mean by it is extremely frail. And kind of Brave Bird with Sharp Beak on Talonflame hits like a ton anyway, so hits like a truck anyway. So yeah, that's really it about the stats. Its speed is a massive highlight, and as you'll see, you can kind of boost that special attack to a reasonable hard hitting amount. And of course, Jolteon's a beautiful creature. And just to say, it's my favourite evolution. I think I showed a plush that I brought from China a few weeks back on a video, one of my competitive battles, and it's cute as hell. I can't remember which video it is, but yeah, it's seriously cute. Move on to the move pool and the kind of typical sets that you'll see a Jolteon run. I'll go into the notable moves and say something after, which may shock you, may not. But Volt Switch, Thunderbolt, Discharge is its electric moves. Heal Bell, Baton Pass, Wish is its normal type. Shadow Ball, Signal Beam, Light Screen. That is pretty much all Jolteon has. It has such a limited move pool, which in my opinion puts it in that low tier, and also its frailties kind of drop him down there as well. So there are a couple of things which mean he's not, like, say, an OU type Raikou kind of Pokemon or something like that. And some of the kind of typical sets that you'll see. Well, kind of firstly on noticeable moves, I guess, kind of going into some of them. Discharge. If you want to run a bulky Jolteon to discharge instead of T-Bolt and get some paralysis here and there, that is a brilliant option to run, in my opinion. I don't see it very often, so I perhaps see it as a surprise factor for Jolteon. Then you got Heal Web, Baton Pass, Wish, which are some of the moves which you'll see in the kind of second set I've put there in Subpass. Then you got Shadow Ball, Signal Beam, and Light Screen. Yes, it can set up a Light Screen. That may shock people if you don't look into its sets, but it does get Light Screen. The Signal Beam is brilliant because typically you'll see like a Tangrowth switch into this, or some other kind of bulky grass type. Signal Beam is super effective on those, so although your Life Orb T-Bolt won't do that much, you can then Signal Beam if it means knocking him out or bringing him to a relatively low amount. So yeah, it's got some moves which can beat out its typical kind of answers, which is nice. Some of the typical sets, then we'll jump into these. There's two which I'm familiar with. There may be some others that some guys can suggest, but these are the two which I'm mainly familiar with and have played against. A momentum bringing offensive set, so a Volt switching max special attack or the Specs or Life Orb set to, like I said, with momentum, it's so important in this game. So it brings you that with extreme speed, extreme amounts of speed, not extreme speed, that's a move. And then you got Volt Switch, Thunderbolt, Hidden Power Ice to hit those ground types, and more than likely you're going to want to run Shadow Ball on this set because HP Ice, it's not as strong as Signal Beam, but it also hits grass types. It hits grass, ground, flying, hits all kinds of Pokemon. So HP Ice and Shadow Ball will probably be your preferred option, or if you want to run mix up with Signal Beam for a certain reason, that's your call. But max special attack, max speed, typically what you'll run with a Specs or a Life Orb. Life Orb if you really feel like switching up your moves is going to be important, or Specs if you really just want to hit as hard as possible with that Volt Switch, if you perhaps don't see a ground type coming in all the time or something like that. Nature's modest for that even more hard hitting boost, or Timid if you need to outspeed something like a Talonflame or something, definitely. Then you got Volt Absorb, which is a brilliant ability in my opinion for a Pokemon. It stops people getting momentum for themselves with Volt Switch, because Volt Absorb, if you hit someone a Volt Absorbing Pokemon with an electric move, they're immune to electric type hits in essence. So you'll see it on both of these sets. Volt Absorb is probably its best ability. Second set is Subpass, which you see kind of less frequently, but it is really effective. I had this used against me in my own league actually, and it was really used to a good extent. So you got Substitute, Baton Pass, so you can sub Baton Pass into, say, usually what Jolteon brings in is a ground type, so you won't predict a Substitute, so you go for Substitute as he comes in, say a Hippowdon, and then you Baton Pass out into, say, a Lassie. So when he goes for an EQ, you're levitating above it, and then you're behind a Substitute, and you're extremely dangerous. Then you got Thunderbolt for natural stab type attack, and HP Ice and Wish, dependent on whether you wanted to run more of a support set or whether you actually wanted to run this offensively to also hit ground types. It's your call. You got Max Speed. These are kind of, I put Max Speed, but again, these sets are when you come to competitive Pokemon, they're all extremely customizable. You tend to speed creep things, so Jolteon will want to speed creep probably the fastest Pokemon on the opponent's team, which may be like a base 110. So you make sure it outspeeds base 110s, and then max HP brings you enough bulk to take certain hits, or you could, like I say, it's very customizable, so you can run max special attack, max speed, or you could run max defense, max speed. You could run max HP, max defense if you really wanted to. It's your call. It depends what you want Jolteon to do. You got Leftovers for longevity. You got Timid, Nature, very customizable depending on what you bring, and Volt Absorb again, like I just went into. And jumping on to the most important bit in my opinion is the for and against of actually drafting Jolteon and bringing him onto your roster and putting him to good use, and whether he will actually work for you. We'll kind of jump into each of these because they are naturally my own opinions. Some you may not agree with, I guess. But in the for column, I've got one of the fastest Pokemon, and he's one of the best revenge killers. So the best revenge killers are usually they hit hard and they're fast. Those are the best revenge killers. Jolteon fits into that bracket as well. I say it's one of the best revenge killers because he gets Volt Switch. So if the Pokemon, say, lives a Volt Switch, you could go out into Jolteon, you could Volt Switch on him, and if you want him to keep that Pokemon healthy, then he'll go out into something else, but you'll get momentum on the Volt Switch. So that's why Jolteon, I think, is so good. And like, yeah, it gains momentum for your team. We've already gone into that. Can be surprise factor with Subpass. Like I said, in one of my leagues, it really put me on the back foot and eventually made me lose like 3-0 or 2-0 or something like that. And then it hits like a truck with Specs. So some natural stuff that you'll see in Pokemon are these kind of for and against. But for a very low tier pick and hits like a truck and gains your momentum, and he's one of the best revenge killers. It's got all this great stuff about it. And as you'll see, there's less in the against column than in the for column. That says it all. Against, it is extremely frail. But like I said, it can't have everything. So you're either really fast or you're really bulky. You hit really hard or you defend insanely. A Pokemon can't have everything unless your name's Arceus at the end of the day. It's got a limited move pool. Like I said, it's got like 8 effective moves. So it's got limited options, but like I say, it can be really effective in the role that you give it. Usually as a revenge killer, momentum bringer, sub passing set. It's really effective in those roles. And like I say, it's also got things to hit things that typically switch in. So say like a dragon or a bulky grass type, you got HP Ice, you got Signal Beam. You've even got Shadow Ball for just a neutral hitting move. So some good stuff, and also it makes hidden powers viable as well. So you got all these options as well. And then lastly, I mean, passive damage, it's worn down easily, yes, but it's on you to. When I say passive damage, it's like rocks, it's life orb, it's things like that which wear it down because it gets no recovery. But it's on you to get rid of those rocks before you decide to keep volt switching everywhere, because people don't want you volt switching for free at the end of the day. That's not in their best interests, because you're always going to be gaining momentum, you're always going to be chunking out damage in their team. It doesn't work for them. So putting up rocks against someone with a Jolteon is usually an effective method, which is probably another reason why the sub pass method works. But yeah, it's an against, but again, it can be worked around. So yeah, in my opinion, Jolteon is a brilliant Pokemon, especially for the tier it's in. I'd definitely give it a go, and if you do, let me know how you get on. Personally, I haven't actually drafted Jolteon before competitively. I used it laddering in the RU tier. I've won matches with it, I've lost matches with it, I've learned how to use it, I've learned what it's weak against. There's so much that you can do with this thing. So yeah, give it a go. Apart from that, we are going to jump into a few battles with this guy, and I don't know what set I'm going to use yet. I haven't built the team, so I can't really tell you yet. But I think I'm just going to go with the offense momentum bringing set. I think that's probably his better set. But sub pass is really brilliant. I don't know. I'm going to build one and then let you know. And I will be back in a minute, guys. Bye bye. What's going on, guys? We're back with the battle. We built a team around Jolteon. We got Lando, we got Latty, we got a Ferro, we got a Zardex, and we got a Mew, which can get rid of rocks for us and stop Jolteon getting worn down. We see probably a Mega Sceptile, an Espeon to bounce back hazards, Infernape, which is extremely scary. We see a Empoleon, an Articuno, and a Garchomp. So Articuno is actually really quite interesting. What's he going to lead? Is he going to lead Garchomp? Let's lead Lando, as he's probably going to lead his Empoleon. So if I led Jolteon, that would have been brilliant. No reason not to U-turn unless he's max speed. And he's probably just going to go for rocks, which makes me want to go into Ferro. As he goes for Ice Beam, please don't freeze. And you'll see that we are lefties. We'll get a Leech Seed off. So what we're going to leech seed, we're going to leech seed the Infernape, so we're going to get some health back. Probably just going to go straight up for a close combat, which makes me want to just double straight back out into Lando. So he goes for Fire Punch, we can take that all day. Any reason not to EQ apart from Articuno? Could also just U-turn to get some momentum, which is probably what I'm going to do. Let's go for that U-turn. Yeah, so he does go out into the Articuno. So we're going to U-turn the Articuno. And we are going to go out into Charizard. I'm going to go out into Charizard and we're going to fire off a big Flare Blitz. Probably going to bait in the Empoleon, but we're going to slowly start wearing that thing down. I could have gone out into Jolteon on that play actually, but Garchomp's just scaring me too much. He goes out into Garchomp. So this is maybe Scarf Chomp. So he's Rough Skin Rocky Helmets. There's no way he's Scarf Chomp. I'm going to go for Dragon Claw this time. He's actually a fast Rocket. That set makes no sense. But this time we're going to go out into our Jolteon, he's probably going to predict the Hidden Power Ice, and we are Spec, so I'm just going to go for a Volt Switch. So he goes out to Empoleon. Oh, see what I mean? So bring that guy down to 2%. As we're going to go out into our Lati. We're going to go out into Lati and click Psyshock. Should kill him. So Jolteon brings the Empoleon down to a good amount with a brave Volt Switch on the Garchomp. He goes out into Articuno this time. He's probably going to click some kind of Ice move. Ice is really bad for my team, but I'm going to go out into Mew. Tank the Ice Beam. Please don't freeze me. Any reason not to go for a Will-O-Wisp apart from Espeon? No, let's go for a knockoff. So we get rid of the leftovers and Air Cutter. Strange. We're going to go for a Will-O-Wisp this time. He's probably not going to go into Espeon, but we burn the Articuno. We're going to start wearing him down. Could have had a Synchronize, but he read well. This thing obviously gets Roost. We don't have any hazards up. So I'm just going to go straight into Jolteon. I think he's going to stay in. So he goes for an Ice Beam as we take 57% from that. I'm going to click Shadow Ball as he stays in. Darn it! So he read me that time. That's the problem with Jolteon, unfortunately. With a ground type, you have to kind of read around it. We got into Lati this time and click Psyshock. Lati can pretty much win me this game, but we'll see. He probably got into his Espeon here. He'll probably have, or he might even go out into his Sceptile. We'll see. I'm sure. Is this the I was just wondering if this was a team that Shady built, but it's not. I just see Espeon and Mega Sceptile. Mega Sceptile was actually against him, and I think he might have had Empoleon. But yeah, he goes out into Espeon, as he's probably going to Dazzling Gleam. There we go. So we get the Dazzling Gleam read. Probably straight back out into his Infernape, which makes me want to put rocks up. So he goes for a Calm Mind. So he's magic. Why did I forget that? I thought he was going to go into Infernape. Oh no. Let's Jar Ball as he Calm Minds again. Can this do a ton of damage, please? 42%. So he's probably Hidden Power Fire. I anticipate. I'm going to go for another. Oh, he's Baton Passing. Is that into Infernape? Into Sceptile. As we get 43% off. I guess this thing's Hidden Power Fire. He's won't be faster than my Lati though, so I can still beat him. Is he Hidden Power? He's Substitute. So we get rid of the Substitute. I'm going to go for Dry Ball again. I don't see at this point why I should continue because we've got no Jolteon, but I like kind of carrying on. He's Focus Blast and he lands it. How insane. So we got into Lati, and we'll simply drop a Draco. Get rid of the Sceptile, bait in the Espeon again. So he goes out into Espeon again. This time I'm going to go into Mew. Probably knock off its item as he probably goes for another Calm Mind. So he goes for Dazzling Gleam. We tank that. Obviously not going to go for a Will-O-Wisp. Let's go for a knockoff. He goes for another Calm Mind. Can this do some decent damage? It kills the Espeon. He knew I had knockoff, so I don't know why he Calm Minded in my face, but it is what it is. Probably going to go out into Infernape. No, he goes into Garchomp. As I Will-O-Wisp. So his Dragon Claw going to kill. We live on one, and we land the Willow. So Garchomp's pretty much crippled. Could we just bring in Lando at this point? Lando can wear this thing down. I'm just thinking I don't want to lock myself into Draco. TQ as he Stone Edges, does barely anything. And we crit the Garchomp, but he was going to go anyway. Obviously he was doing nothing to me. And we're going to EQ the Infernape as well to finish off the game. As he Fire Punches, and we EQ the Infernape to win. So there you go. I hope you enjoyed the battle. Unfortunately Jolteon didn't do much, as I hoped he would. He did. Volt Switch on Garchomp, switch into an Empoleon, so that's somewhat good. But again, this was in the OU tier, where it's Jolteon can be very easily threatened out by a lot more powerful Pokemon. So in competitive battle, you'll typically get like 3 brilliant Pokemon and the rest average. So it works really well, and especially when you know what the other opponent has. This is really just a feel for what it can do. But yeah, look, show your love on your the like button down below if you did enjoy and want to see more of these. I think the next episode is going to be on Florges. My girlfriend actually suggested I do Jolteon and Florges, so I'm gonna go with the word, and hopefully they are enjoyed by the crowd. So yeah, I will see you guys in the next episode. Bye bye.